Unacceptable fringe. Unacceptable fringe.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe, and I hope you guys had a great weekend as we spent another week here in the arcade doing a weekly wrap. It's great to see some folks over in the chat. Chippies is in here right away. Saying good evening to everybody. Chippies, welcome into the stream. Hope you're doing well. Analog conversation, I'm going to say. I hope I pronounced that right. Hello from Dunmore, Alberta. Hello, welcome into the stream. Gotta love my Albertans represent here in the chat. Good to see you in the stream. It's great to have you guys here. A lot going on this week. A lot's happened this week. I hope you guys got a good weekend in with a nice sunshine. Hopefully less rain. I know in Calgary we've had a ton of rain. It's been on and off. It seems like every day while my kids have been at school, it's been nice and sunny. And then in the evenings, as soon as we're ready to take them to the park, it's raining. So this weekend, we got a chance to get outside. We got a chance to do a few things. And speaking of getting outside, keep your eyes open as in the next 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, actually, Friday, July the 7th, I believe it is. Let me double check the date there. Friday, July 7th, we'll be doing a special live stream here on the channel. I don't know the time, but keep your bell on for notifications. It's, going to be sometime in the early afternoon as my good friend Clyde Do Something is going to be hanging out with me down here in Calgary. We're going to do a live stream down from the Stampede grounds live on Friday the 7th, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be walking around the grounds, getting into some shenanigans, showing people what the Calgary Stampede is all about, and taking your questions live in the chat as we're down on the grounds. So make sure to turn on your bell again for notifications so that you're notified when we go live, so you can come hang out with us. I will put out a tweet when we're about to go live as well. So stay tuned for that. If your if your notification bell for some reason isn't letting you know when we do go live, as YouTube is so good at the shadow banning lately. A lot of people telling me they're not getting notifications for videos, and a lot of times people are saying they're not getting notifications for lives. So hopefully you guys can join us when we do that live stream. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be kind of a two-parter because we're going to do our live stream down at the grounds, and then later that evening, Clyde will be doing his live stream, his usual Friday night live stream from right here in my home arcade when we sit down and chat, and we're going to think of something fun to do. Last time it was hot wings and drunken shenanigans. I'm not sure what we're going to get into this time, but it's always a good time when Clyde's around. I can't say just how much fun I have when I'm in the same room as Clyde, and how grateful I am that him and I have become such good friends over the last year. It's definitely going to be great to have him and his family here in Calgary to take in the culture, take in what's going on at Stampede. And I'm going to have a video kind of talking about what's going on at Stampede this year later this week. So keep your eyes open for that. As for what's gone on in this week, we're going to get into that momentarily. I'm just giving it a few minutes here for the room to fill up. Let's address the chat here. Megan, happy Sunday. I hope you've all had a great weekend so far. Megan, I hope you had a great weekend as well. Welcome into the stream. Funas jumping in. How you doing, Funas? Welcome in. FJT coming in. How you doing? Welcome into the stream. Good to see you here. Now, over the weekend, a lot went on. I got the finishing touches done on my digital pinball machine. As you can see, I've got my new back box fully operational in the background, which I'm just loving it. Now, I've got about 14 machines in my game room altogether. And I got to say, this pinball machine is probably the one that gets the most play out of all of them. I think I've got somewhere along the lines of about 300 machines in there now, between pinball effects and I guess you could call it virtual pinball, VPX, virtual pinball. A lot of 90s tables, 80s tables that I grew up on. And I got to tell you, if you've ever wanted to get into pinball at an affordable price, this At Games Legends pinball is the way to go. I did kind of a brief review on a live stream about this back box. Of course, this back box is an upgrade from what comes stock in these machines. You just get a small 15-inch screen with the stock one, but of course you can put the digital scoreboard on that monitor. You can still hook up a computer if you want to do that stock, but I wanted the look of an actual pinball machine. So the good old Buy Stuff store Buy Stuff Store Canada sent me this digital upgrade, I guess, for the digital pinball. This Backbox Pro, they call it. It is a more costly upgrade. I think by the time I was done putting everything I wanted in this, it was probably close to $1,000. But I also added a haptics kit, a subwoofer, so that the machine felt a little bit more like a real pinball when the solenoids were being hit and stuff. So for less than $2,000, you can procure the Backbox Pro and the machine, which when you look at regular pinball, I think the average pinball table, when I see people selling legit pinball, it's like anywhere from $4,000 to $15,000. So if you want to get into one that doesn't require a lot of work, a lot of repairs, you just load up your ROMs and go, this is the one to go with. Absolutely love my pinball machine, and I'm happy we got that work done this weekend. Quite a bit going on Twitter. And Twitter, now look, I'm going to be honest, Twitter is not the most tolerant space on the internet. And I'm very well aware of that. I am very well aware that there's a lot of trolls on Twitter. There's a lot of negativity on Twitter. But this weekend, I had a few things go on. Now, of course, my good friend Tamara Leach, I'm going to post, I want to show what I had on Twitter. Because I was pretty much attacked by a large group of people on Twitter over the weekend, and I had to pull a tweet. Now, usually I don't pull tweets. I know a lot of people say to me, you should never pull tweets. You should never delete them. It shows that people are winning. It wasn't really about people winning that I pulled my tweet. It was more what had happened this week. Let's share the screen. Tamara's got her book. She's been doing very well with her book. Her book has been sitting at #1 for quite some time. And I've read it twice. It's a very, if you wanted a behind the scenes perspective of what went on that wasn't reported, even in her interviews, really personal stuff, go read the book, get yourself a copy. I can't recommend it enough. It's fantastic, but Tamara sent me this photo from her book signing last week. Let's get a better shot of that. Where she was at a book signing, and this young lady came in with her mother. Let's zoom in there. This young lady came in with her mother, and she brought in a copy of Hold the Line, the Ballad of Tamara Leach that we put out here at Unacceptable Fringe. And she asked her mother she asked Tamara if she could sign the book while they were getting a copy of Tamara's book, which is down here. Hold the Line, which is readily available on Amazon. Guys, this isn't a grift. Go pick it up. It's a great book. If you liked the Freedom Convoy, if you were glued to the TV like I was, it's a great recount of what went on then, but also with Tamara's arrest, what went on in the background, the court appearances, the shenanigans that went on in the background. A very endearing story, to say the least. But I posted this photo. And Funas hits it here on the head. It's just a bunch of trolls. And I seen that they were calling you guys groomers. Now, that's essentially what happened. So I posted this photo and simply stated that, hey, I'm glad that I was glad to see that, and very flattered that somebody came in and asked with their kid to sign my book. Now, I've said multiple times during interviews, and anybody who's seen me on Maverick News or Rebel or any of those outlets, that I don't write my books for children. People seem to think that because we write our books in a childlike nature, that means that I'm somehow promoting children to read our books or indoctrinating children. I've been told that many times before, but I simply posted this photo and said how heartwarming it was to see that some kids hadn't been corrupted, and that they're free-thinking individuals. And it was very flattering to see that she brought that book for Tamara to sign. Instantly, about 25 posts, one after another, retweeting it out, saying that we're groomers, that we're terrible people, that Tamara deserves to be in jail. And I kind of drew the line there, because I'm all for trolling. I've had people troll me for a year now, since we launched our first book. I'm no stranger to it, and I have no problems Again, people call me fat online all the time. I don't know why people seem to think that bothers me, because it certainly doesn't. But the thing I find about the internet is people keep saying things that they never say to your face because they know there'd be repercussions. They know that if they wanted to come to my face and call me a groomer, they'd probably get laid out on the sidewalk. And that's not uttering threats. That's just the way life works. If you were to walk up to somebody and conduct yourself the way that most people do online, you'd probably get laid out. So we posted this photo, and again, it was just attack after attack after attack. And I said, you know what? I'm going to pull the tweet because there's a child's picture out there being labeled as groomers, having all this ridicule. And despite having permission to post that photo, I didn't want this child's face out on the internet any further than it was, being ridiculed like this, because should that family ever happen to see the tweet, I just didn't want that negativity there. But it's also because I'm very close friends with Tamara, and I'll read off what I tweeted out because I think I summed it up as best as I could with pulling that tweet and then producing this new tweet. So we'll go over this together. So it says here, I posted a picture earlier of my dear friend Tamara at her book signing, where a young lady brought along her daughter and asked Tamara to sign the book we made about her. I've since deleted the tweet after several low-tier individuals came out and labeled both her and I groomers. Please know that the tweet was not deleted because they got to me or won the argument. And this is my kind of reasoning. Tamara gave up her freedom to fight for our ability to have ours. Now, keep in mind, Tamara is still waiting for her court date, which is coming up very soon in September. She's been offered multiple ways out that she hasn't taken because she believes in what she fought for. And I'm not going to get into those things because, again, that's her business. But it tells me that they're scared that these charges aren't going to stick. So anybody who supports Tamara, please know the chances of her being convicted of anything at this point are very slim to none because they don't have a leg to stand on. But she gave up her freedom. She went to jail so that the rest of us could go to restaurants, so that the rest of us could go to movie theaters, so that the rest of us could see our family members and our loved ones. She went to jail twice, believing that the government needed to be questioned. Now, I would ask anybody who has a negative opinion about her, or anybody who has a positive opinion about her for that matter, where do you think we'd be right now if the truckers hadn't gone to Parliament Hill? Like today, where would we be? How much longer would those lockdowns have gone on if we didn't see that massive pushback? People keep with the post of where's the money? Where's everything? It's all in escrow. Everybody says, oh, Tamara, people were putting word balloons up of Tamara saying, people keep giving me money. She'd like to know where it is because she doesn't have any. She doesn't have any. I've known Tamara for almost a year now. I've been very graced to have her in my home as a guest. But things are so tight in her house that I offer her a place to stay whenever she comes to town, so she's not throwing out money for hotels. She's your average Canadian citizen. She doesn't have money to throw around. Everybody seems to think that GiveSendGo just handed her millions of dollars and she just laughed and took off with it, or has offshore bank accounts. Somebody sent a text a few weeks ago from Bridget Belton saying, oh, she has offshore accounts. I'd love to know the existence of those because they're not there. She doesn't have a dime. She had to go to Toronto a few weeks ago and she told me she had less than $1,000 in her bank account. She had to figure out how she's going to get all over the country. And Rebel News, who have been producing her book on her behalf, have had to fly her around the country for this book tour. She's not doing that. That's all them. I said, she's also my friend. And while I advocate for the right to free speech and opinion, I will not allow tasteless claims comparing her to something as vile as an actual groomer on my profile. Have your opinions. Say as you please. Attack me however you like. but I will simply ban those who use such disgusting terms. This is simply a warning / statement that you did not get the better of me. I could care less what you think, and I don't. I don't give a shit what people think. I simply will not allow you to attack and label those I care about or those that gave everything they had so that you could benefit. Now, even these people who want to piss and moan, now I'll keep in mind, I've muted the conversation because it's got 233 retweets, 29 quotes, 1,700, basically 1,800 likes, but it's got over 400 comments. And the majority of them, as we scroll down, I love this one. Alberta Fact Checker who came in. Is this you? Is this you? And they've posted a tweet that I had where we showed a tweet that I made on a review of one of our books. Somebody posted a pathetic attempt to push right-wing propaganda. Why would one want little ones to be indoctrinated by white supremacy in the guise of a children's book? So first off, again, my books are not written for children. So what I tweeted out at that time was, that's a good question. Kind of like how left-wing propaganda wants to groom children to question their gender and take them to drag shows. I'd rather children read my innocent book. Thanks for the salt, though. Now, this person puts out, is this you? And I said, yes, it is. I don't write my books for children. They're satire and they're for adults. I don't support the indoctrination of children to mutilate their genitals or take puberty blockers. I do support children who love their country by their own free will. We are not the same, no matter how much you try to push that. Keep an eye out for our next book, by the way. Has a very clear warning. This is not for children. Wrote it just for you and your friends. And of course, you see our new book that's coming out in the fall, The Young Kids Guide to Grooming. Now, keep in mind, the young kids in this book are a play on words, as it's featuring these twins, Riley Young and Vera Young, or as we call them, really young and very young. It's going to be a fun book. It's really going to be good. I can't wait for that one to get out. But of course, you see, hope you included churches and white Christian males since they are the major pedophile demographic. Did you ask her where all the money went from the frozen bank account? How do you feel about procedures on genitals? Leave kids alone. So again, I've stated up here, these books aren't for children. Oh, but leave kids alone. So here's, you're a proud transphobe then. I guess trans people don't deserve the same freedoms that you claim to want. At which I replied, they do deserve every right as the rest of us do, as long as they leave my kids alone and stop putting the vulnerable at risk. What a hypocrite. You probably aren't interested in facts and really in reality either. Sounds like you may be schizophrenic. Insert foot and mouth here. Like, it goes on and on for 400 comments. So I've actually, rather than delete the tweet and cause more nonsense, I've muted the conversation and people can post whatever they want at this point. I may just be taking a break from Twitter. It's such a toxic place. It's so, I mean, I almost want to sit here and laugh because these guys, like, people were saying, oh, it doesn't get to you yet you post this, so clearly it gets to you. I understand trolling. I understand how it works. And I'm certainly not sitting here trying to gain sympathy or anything else. It's matter of these idiots think that they're harming me or harming my ideologies. I don't care, because I know what I do for a living. I know where I stand for my career. I know where Tamara stands. I know that there's no money. I know that she's not hiding things. I know the truth. So I really don't care what somebody who doesn't know neither her or myself wants to fabricate. They're wrong. And that's fine. The problem I had was this was being smeared all over the photo of a young girl. And that's where I drew the line. But I also drew the line because I don't like people pushing around my friends. And I hate the amount of hate that woman gets for what she did for this country. Every time she comes to stay here, she always says to me, I feel bad. I feel like, you know, I don't ever want you to feel like I'm taking advantage of things or that, you know, that the only reason I give you a call is because I need somewhere to stay. And I already know that because Tamara is one of the most genuine, friendliest, kindest people I've ever had the pleasure of sitting down with and talking to. In fact, she has a very, very, very well done interview with Dr. Jordan Peterson that's on YouTube right now. You should go check out. But I love Tamara like a family member, and I've said to her many times that what her and the rest of that convoy did for every Canadian citizen is a debt that we could never repay, in my mind. And my door will always be open to her. Anything she needs is at her disposal that I have to offer. Because my children were on the brink of insanity and desperation. And I've talked about it on this stream before. I was in tears the day they showed the trucks going down the highways with people on overpasses, and my daughter turned to me and said, "Are the truckers going to get our freedoms back, our lives back?" And I said, "I sure hope so." I don't think we could ever repay them. No amount of money could repay what they gave up. What Tamara has, she's locked in her home. She can't travel anywhere unless it's within the country. She can't go to the US. She can't have a social media account. She can't talk to anybody unless she's going on these interviews, which have to do with book promotion, because it's a catch-22. It's sad. It's sad. I want to get caught up in the chat here. FJT, it wasn't her, it was the whole convoy. Yeah, but the thing about Tamara is the convoy, even guys like Chris Barber have said she's the face of the convoy. And there's no denying that. Anybody can say, like, when I talk about Tamara and what she did, I'm talking about the convoy as a whole, not just her. She didn't go there by herself and wave a flag. We're talking generalities here. Suzanne, welcome in. How you doing? There was also a super chat from Suzanne. No message though, but thank you for the super chat, Suzanne. It's always great to see you. If Trudeau can't have it, no one can. I wonder if Trudeau stole the gold from the airport. I mean, I don't I don't know. Here's Funa's side question, since you mentioned Twitter. Shows you have DMs disabled when I went to send you one. Not sure if I have to set it up. So DMs are only if I'm following back. I do have an email on YouTube, Funas. If it's not in the about, I'll set that up. But there is an email address. If you need to get a hold of me there, you can send me a message there. I do check that email. It's unacceptablefringeyt@gmail.com. If you want to send me an email there, I'll happily read what you have to say. Pierre, welcome into the stream. Stand tall for freedoms. I couldn't agree more. I'm gearing up for propaganda summer. Going after the disinformation. There you go. Welcome in, Christina. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend so far. Pierre says, still feeling young at 61. I mean, that's great. I'm glad. The Ukraine flags on posters is the first sign you should ignore. Yeah. So there's a lot of those. And I understand. And again, I'm not saying those things got to me. I wanted to talk about that because I just think it's disgusting how many people want to use the term groomer for what we do. And a lot of people that misunderstand what's being done. Well, I shouldn't say misunderstanding. You're not going to get through to those people. And I know that. I just love how, because we took a certain art direction with our books, we're always labeled as groomers and people who want to indoctrinate children. And I don't know how many times I can say, these aren't for fucking kids. Like, it's now with the Prime Minister who stole freedom. If you want to read those to your kids, I've always said, I'm not going to tell you don't read them to your kids, but they're not made for kids. We try to keep a relatively tame aspect to our books. But those are for censors. Those are for the purpose of, guidelines on platforms. It's not really because, we want to make them child friendly. And again, our newest book, which you saw the picture of there, it does have a warning in there that you probably shouldn't read this one to your children. It doesn't mean that there's any vile materials in that book, but just because of the subject matter, I just don't think it should be read to kids. Mystical jumping in. I would compare the convoy to the 1837 rebellions. I know there's other people in the chat. I'm sorry. I'm not ignoring your comments. I'm just trying to get caught up. And I'm just trying to grab the ones I can. Brooke jumping in. Welcome in, Brooke. Truckers, Tamara and the truckers are all our heroes. Thank you so much. Jane jumping in. Jane, welcome to the stream. I know you mentioned something up earlier. I'm sorry I missed it. Christina jumping in. Next month, more in carbon tax revenue. Trudeau gave himself 4 pay raises since the lockdown. Snatch is jumping in. How you doing, Snatch? Welcome into the stream. Sorry, guys. I'm just getting down. CB's jumped in. CB, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Good friend of the channel, fellow Albertan. Quit grooming kids to think for themselves. It's a bad idea. I mean, I'm such a bastard when it comes to it, but hey, I can't help it. I can't help myself. I found it so alarming, just the negativity. And I know Twitter's a nasty place. And I certainly don't want to stay on that topic because I'm basically just saying on this stream, for anybody who's replying to those tweets, I muted the conversation because I'm just, after 400 comments, I don't have any interest in the negativity. We have only so much time on this earth, and I'd rather focus on the positive, and that's what we're going to do. So, which this week as well, we have some videos coming out that are touching a lot on things like pride and the goings on that are going on there. But I do have some lighter content videos coming this week as well. So keep your eyes peeled for those because we got to focus on the good too. I can't always be bad. But speaking of pride, we've seen that Toronto had their Pride Fest this week, or the Pride Parade, I guess you could say, this weekend. And well, I do have a video coming on it, so I don't want to talk too much about it. But you can see here, Bud Light, who, I mean, they've taken hit after hit since April, since the whole Dylan Mulvaney thing. And I found it so funny that so Pride Toronto is one of the largest pride parades in the country. And here's Bud Light, that after walking back all their woke nonsense and saying, guys, buy our beer, we're sorry, we didn't mean to back Dylan Mulvaney. I mean, here they are at the Pride Parade in full blown their trucks with everybody in Bud Light attire, pushing their products, saying official sponsor. Did you see that? Bud Light's the official sponsor of Pride. I mean, how do you say as a company we want to just be out of the business? Like, you've taken a fire and thrown gasoline on it. I don't understand, with all the backlash, why you wouldn't just turn head and walk away. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's funny is what it is. I find it hilarious. You got all these guys in Bud Light attire promoting the company. The tweet was a little more concerning. As this came from Colin Rugg. Bud Light appears to be going all in with the LGBT audience as they made the guest appearance at the Toronto Pride Parade. Are they trying to set a record for the quickest destruction of a company in history? Bud Light was the sponsor of the Toronto event now here's where we talked about this in the video that I'm putting out this week. Adults were spotted naked in front of children. Some booths at the event were pushing for sex ed to begin in kindergarten. Bud Light seems to only be pushing more people away, considering their weekly sales are down 25%. I mean, it's scary. The nudity at the parade resulted. Now, I can't show that obviously on the stream or on the video, but there were men on bikes at one point completely nude. And we're being told, well, there's laws in Toronto that allow for that. It allows people to dress this way. And there were kids there. But my question again, why are people taking their kids to this? Why? I mean, it's Toronto. That tells you enough. Toronto, they talk about carbon emissions. There's more people in Toronto that get high off the smell of their own farts than they do on carbon emissions, from what I understand. At least that's how Jordan Peterson puts it. But it's crazy. It's crazy. Tempest jumping into the stream. How you doing, Tempest? Welcome in. Salute for the gifted memberships. Were there gifted memberships? Did I miss? Oh my God, Funis gave out gifted memberships. I didn't get the notification. Funis, thank you for that. Giving Leighton Trick a gifted membership as well. Funis, thank you so much. That's amazing. Really appreciate the support. Thank you for that. I don't know why I'm not seeing it in my notifications here. I apologize for that. Temp is saying it sounds like I'll never go to Toronto. It's it's Mystical saying, can we get their sales down by 100%? Possibly. I'm thinking it's going to go that way. Pride comes before a fall. Celebration of abomination will ultimately out the crimes of the government. Well, the problem now, one thing we touch on in my video later this week, and CB fixes on it here. It's called indecent exposure. It's a crime. Absolutely. But some cities have gone against that jurisdiction to say, well, within the realms of certain things, they found a loophole to kind of promote it without having to arrest people. And it's disgusting. YouTube is as good at notifications as it does for us. They don't like to see people who don't agree with the ideology succeed, I guess. I don't know. I don't get it. But Funis, thank you for that. That's amazing. Magic Moon, welcome into the stream. Pride, also known as hubris from ancient Greeks, or futility. It's futility, sorry, considered the original and worst of the 7 deadly sins on almost every list. The most demonic. I couldn't agree more. Jane asking what happened at the Jordan Peterson trial, I'm assuming, with the College of Psychologists. I haven't been following that. I'm not sure. Jane asking, what is a membership? Well, a membership right now, it is a monthly, you can become a member. You get some emotes for the chat. It allows you to support the channel financially, I guess, in a sense, while also getting some emotes to support the channel. It just helps with equipment, with new things that we're doing on the show. But it also is a way to support separate from a super chat or anything like that. It is definitely not required, but it is always appreciated. And I appreciate everybody who's become a member so far as we grow our small fringe minority. Now, as time goes on, as we gain more members, I've been thinking about trying to institute maybe some form of a private Discord, maybe once a month, where we do a chill and chat. And all members are welcome to come in and we can kind of do like a cam chat or something like that to kind of give people a benefit of becoming a member. But we've just recently rolled them out. So aside from supporting the channel, I haven't really brought in a lot of benefits yet. Foon is saying it helps with the YouTube algorithm as well. It does indeed. But again, I don't like to be one of those people that forces or pushes that. There are real grifters out there that really push that. I'll be able to become a member right now and get all these benefits and do all these. I don't like that. I don't do YouTube to get paid. The money is good because, like I said, if we need better mics or lights or things like that, any money I make on YouTube goes back into the channel. Much like you see with the new intro videos that are on YouTube and things like that. They went to pay for those things. So I don't take any of that money for myself. It always goes back into the channel. But it is definitely not required. Toronto is promoting Portuguese Bayou Pirates on Fatima off Notre Dame boys. I'm not sure what that is, but if you say so, I'll take it for what it's worth. Trudeau wore a Sikh diaper on his head when he was in blackface. Just goes to show he has shit for brains. Roland, welcome into the stream. So the Pride Parade, I mean, it's shown a few things. And again, some of the videos this week talk about what's going on in the NHL. We're talking about the backlash, but also the pushback when it comes to parents and people of faith that are really kind of getting fed up with Pride. And I was talking to my wife about this over the weekend. It's Trudeau jumping off of the lake sticker. I could probably pull that from a passport, but it's now here's Trudeau's a commie coming in, and you should start doing shorts. It'll help promote your channel. I'd love to do shorts. Part of the problem, again, people like, so, and I'm not trying to make excuses here. I'm just trying to lay out my day so people understand why those things aren't here yet. So my day consists of, I'm a full-time father. My wife has her career. And when I'm not writing books, I've got a 3-year-old, and he's one of those 3-year-olds that if you turn your back for 2 seconds, he's destroyed the house. So I essentially spend my entire day with my 3-year-old while my other 2 kids are off at school doing their thing. And then they come home. I got to make dinner. I got to get things organized in the house for my wife, not because she says to, but because we're a team. So I get dinner and things ready. We maybe spend an hour or so together, an hour and a half. And then I come into the basement here where I get all my YouTube stuff ready for the next day, do my research, look at articles, figure out what I'm going to report on. And I maybe am lucky to hit up a Discord with some of my friends at the end of the night while I play a game or something for an hour and unwind. And I usually go to bed around midnight, 1 a.m. And then I get up at 6:30 and do it all over again. So when it comes to making shorts, I just don't have that time in my schedule yet. And again, not making excuses, just laying it out that they will come eventually. With my kids getting out of school for the summer, I'm hopeful that my eldest daughter can maybe help out with my 3-year-old. I can maybe start doing videos or lives during the daytime instead of at night all the time. Maybe get some more content out to you guys. I'm going to try to find a way to retool a few things. But as things ramp up with this new book as well, we've got our new book coming out in the fall. And that also requires some of my time when it comes to dealing with my illustrator and looking at all the pages she's putting together and recommending how we're going to do things. And it's a busy schedule, not to mention a mayoral race coming up, but we're just busy. But and Trudeau's coming saying, yep, I get it. So again, I'd love to do shorts, and shorts are short to do. But it's and I know my good buddy Clyde has a lot of fun doing shorts. He's really been cranking them out lately. I don't think anybody's got their, I tweeted out earlier in this week, I don't think anybody's got their shorts game up like Clyde does lately. But he's coming to visit again in less than 2 weeks. We're going to do a live stream from the Stampede grounds. I'll probably be intoxicated, but it's going to be fun. It's going to have some shenanigans. That'll be on July 7th, probably early afternoon. So keep your bells on for notifications. We'll be doing a live stream on this channel from the grounds. And then of course, Clyde will be doing his live stream again down here in my home arcade, his usual Friday night stream over on his channel. So it's going to be 2 streams in a day from the 2 channels, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to get into some trouble, and who knows, maybe some hot wings, maybe some fun stuff, but maybe while Clyde's here, I can get some advice from him on the shorts stuff and see where we end up. Do you have any hobbies? I web surf. I don't know if you've seen what's behind me. I have no hobbies at all. I know that was sarcasm. Magic Moon. Cindy jumping in. I had 3 3-year-olds like that. Now they have 3-year-olds like that. I watch, lean back, and have a drink of beer, and then laugh my head off at them. Yeah, I will probably enjoy life a lot more when I'm a grandfather and I don't have to run as much. I will give my daughter the benefit of the doubt. I mean, she's only 9, but she's almost like a second caregiver in this house. She's really good with my 3-year-old and loves to help out where she can. The problem is essentially that this 3-year-old's got energy that I wish I could bottle up and sell to people. He's just a little too much. Anybody who's had 3-year-olds knows what kind of a challenge that is. It's Jane coming in. Anybody going to the Whistle Stop for the party? Jane, I was hoping to make it up there and see Chris on Canada Day. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it there. I know Tamara was in talks of getting up there at one point, and she's unable to as well. At least that's what she told me the last time I spoke with her. So I don't want to say for certain she won't be there, but I know Chris does the celebration up there every year. I'm hoping next year I can get up there. This year's just been so nuts. It's almost impossible. But yeah, Chris over at the Whistle Stop, fantastic guy. Knows how to put on a party. But great little restaurant he's got up there at the Whistle Stop. Definitely show some love to those guys if you're in the area. Go check them out. Trudeau's Akami says, I just became an uncle last week. Can't wait to spoil here. Congratulations. You're gonna love it. I'll tell you right now, if there's one thing that I love in life is that like my wife and I had a hard time having kids of our own for many years. We had my first daughter when I was 35 and or 34. I was 34 um, when when we had my first, and I kept saying at that point, like my wife and I were getting into our mid 30s, we were ready to travel, we were ready to do things, and I just kind of said, "Hey, maybe kids aren't in the deck for us. Maybe we'll travel." You know, I had my gamings that I was collecting, I had my life, my friends, and I said, "Yeah, this is good enough, I guess. We'll deal with what we've got." And as soon as we started traveling, we ended up getting pregnant with my daughter. And a guy like me with high anxiety, as soon as I thought I'm responsible for somebody, I remember it was about 4 days before we were supposed to go to Vegas that my wife found out she was pregnant. And I flipped out and was like, oh my God, this is changing everything. I'm not going to have my friends anymore. I'm not going to be able to play video games anymore because I got to focus on kids. I'm not going to, and it was very selfish, but I kept thinking about all the things I was losing. And what I didn't realize is that I thought I was living before we had kids, but I didn't realize I didn't know what living was until we had our kids. And just how amazing it is to not only watch those kids grow up, but to know that they look to you as a roadmap of how to be a human being, as to how to behave, as to how to get along in the world. And we had one kid, and then immediately after had another, and then my third came along a couple of years later, and we decided at that point we were done. But I wouldn't change a thing in the world. I love having kids. Spoiling them is part of the fun. My wife gets mad at me because I take my kids. I do a lot of charitable things. With the success of our books, I don't know if anybody who follows me on Twitter seen my posts close to, I believe it was back around Black Friday. I went to Walmart and I filled up 4 shopping carts full of toys. And I'm not talking like the cheap clearance toys. Like I went in and bought toys that I'd want to buy. And we filled 4 carts. I think I spent about $3,000 that day, and we filled the carts and took them to the local police drive for what they call Toy Mountain in town, where they give toys to underprivileged children at Christmas time. But I often do that for underprivileged kids all year round. So multiple times a year, I go into Toys R Us with my kids, and I don't know if people can tell again, just by looking at what I do for a hobby, but I'm like a big kid. I used to have all my action figure collections behind me in my background, but I've since done this brick wall background this week. I got it all in play. Hopefully it looks better. I think it looks a lot better on the YouTubes. I love toys, and I love playing with toys. I love anytime I go into Toys R Us with my kids, we're usually there for about like 2.5 hours. Because we just have fun. It's like I'm their age and we goof around and have laughs. And I usually come out with my wife yelling at me because I'm spending a lot of money again for kids that deserve it. And I'll often get things for my kids, but we go to Toys R Us a lot. And I think it's one of the most fun things about having my kids is I always look forward to those days where we go to Toys R Us, where we get to shop and have some fun. I think it's great. CB coming in. It's amazing when the little one doesn't get to watch Paw Patrol. So funny story to that, because CB knows I chat with CB on the side of my videos. My 3-year-old has a fit whenever he can't watch Paw Patrol. He actually broke our television. I think I talked about that on stream, where he threw the remote at our TV and destroyed it. We had to get a new one, but I mean, it's part of these televisions. It's part of having kids, right? They don't know what they're doing. It's a love-hate realization. They're a massive pain, but I wouldn't trade parenting for anything now that I have them. Happy to hear that, Spudman. Welcome into the stream as well, if I didn't recognize you in here earlier. Did I miss something Christina had mentioned earlier? That family had 2 grandchildren lost to me from Trudeau's division. I'm so sorry to hear that. It's great to fly now, not needing the Vax Pass. I agree. And it's funny because I've talked about it on stream before, but with my kids, so our summer this year is going to be jam packed. Usually in the summer, we have a hot tub in our backyard that I put it like pool temperature so the kids can go. I don't use it. If I do, it's maybe once a month, but we keep it at pool temperature so our kids can go in there and splash around. We've got a water park across the house across the street from our house. So we usually kind of stick around in the summer. We'll maybe drive north a little and see the mother-in-law a couple times, go to the lake up there, mostly palling around Alberta. But this year, because things have gotten a little better for us, we decided, you know what? The kids lost my mom, their grandmother. We've talked about that on stream before. We kind of said, you know what? They missed a lot of firsts. They missed because of the pandemic. They missed first sleepovers. They missed birthday parties. They missed having friends over just to play. And there's a lot of parents in our neighborhood that are still skeptical about letting kids do that. My daughter is going to be 9 years old in August, and she still hasn't had a sleepover. She hasn't had, she very rarely has friends over to the house, even though, again, we promote that in our house. It's like, come on over, play video games, have some fun, run around the house. You know, we got water guns. I've got a big, I'm a true trucker, I guess, trucker supporter. We have a big bounce house in the backyard that we can put up with a water slide. I mean, there's lots of stuff that we do for the kids around here to promote fun. And it's just a shame they've never done those things. So we kind of said, well, since things are better this year, we're going to try to spoil them a bit now that we can get on an airplane, we can fly. So we have my good friend Clyde coming in a week and a half with his family, and his kids are roughly the same age as mine. So that's always good because they play together, they have fun. So they get a couple days of that. I've got another friend coming up from Winnipeg with his kids a day after Clyde leaves. And they're going to want to do Stampede as well. So 2 weeks of stampeding and having fun with family and friends. And then I'm taking my kids to Northern Idaho for Silverwood Theme Park to get them out of the house a little bit. And then, of course, the one thing I get scrutinized for more than anything else, I'm taking them to Disney in September to get them a break. Because, again, while I don't agree with the things that Disney pushes on people, my kids don't see it and they want to go have some fun. And I can't wait. I can't wait to take them. And at least the one salvation I have is that my mother-in-law pushed it and said, I'm paying for the trip. And I wasn't going to let her have that, but she's paid for the passes. We kind of met on an even keel, and she said, I'll pay for the passes so you're not giving your money to Disney, and we'll go and have a fun trip. And well, I'll get my mother-in-law back at some point, but but it's fun. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be great. Sass saying, come to Sylvan Lake. I'm in Sylvan Lake quite a bit. My mother-in-law lives in Sylvan Lake. I was there 2 weeks ago. I rented a Sea-Doo for a couple hours and took my kids out on the lake. Had a lot of fun. I've actually been looking at real estate up at Sylvan. But the problem is again, I'm running for mayor in Calgary, so I can't really move if I want to be mayor of the city. So I've got to kind of keep my roots where I am at the moment, but Sylvan's a gorgeous town. I grew up in Winnipeg up until I was 15. And one of the places in Winnipeg near Lake Winnipeg up north of Winnipeg itself is a place called Grand Beach. And I spent a lot of my summers out at Grand Beach, and I love it because it's like a beach town. They got little mom and pop shops and restaurants all over the place and barbecue places and stuff. Sylvan reminds me a lot of Grand Beach, and I quite like Sylvan Lake. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of it. Let me get caught up in the chat here. CB's asking, land or world? We're going to land because I wanted to go to Universal and check out Super Nintendo World. That was a must for me. I've already purchased 2 extra suitcases just to bring all the cool stuff back from Super Nintendo World. I'm going to go broke. I swear to God. I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm into video games. So I can't wait to go check out Super Nintendo World. Sass saying we have a small cabin there. just to hang out. My kids are 10 and 7. It would be fun. Sass, keep an eye out. If you follow me on Twitter, if you're on Twitter, keep an eye out. I usually post if I'm going up in that area. Yeah, it's a fun spot. Fun spot. Jane saying, we will come to Calgary during your campaign to support you. We will find a driveway to park and canvas or whatever. Jane, I really appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. The Conservative table a no COVID vax mandate. We must reinforce its acceptance. It includes pregnant moms and babies. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. How far are the evil people just pushing the greatest reset going to go? We need peace talks. Absolutely. Hobbies can do that to your pocketbooks. So here's the problem I've got with hobbies. So when I go to Northern Idaho, mid-July, I've already been researching because there was a new arcade that came out from Arcade 1UP. They brought out the Fast and the Furious, which, again, I'm not a big fan of the Fast and Furious movies. I watched Fast X the other day, but it was just because I guess the interwebs kind of happened to land it in my lap at a no charge price. So I watched it with my wife and found out how ridiculous Fast and the Furious has gone. I haven't watched a Fast and the Furious movie, I think, since like Fast 5. But the Fast and the Furious arcade was released by Arcade 1UP. And anybody who knows anything about arcade games, there was this old racing game, well, not old, but late 90s called Cruis'n USA. And Cruis'n was an awesome racing arcade game. I really loved Cruis'n. They had Cruis'n World. Fast and the Furious was essentially made by the same development team. It's a cruising game, but they just put the Fast and the Furious logo on it for the sake of getting people to pump in their quarters in the arcade. So they came out with the Fast and Furious arcade, but then they announced, well, we're only going to sell it in the US. We're not bringing it to Canada, and it's going to be done in limited numbers. And it's exclusive to Best Buy in the US. Well, I've already tracked down a Best Buy where we're going near Silverwood, and I'm probably going to try my best to pick up a Fast and the Furious arcade while I'm in the US to add to my home arcade, because God damn it, I need more racing machines. I've only got one racing machine right now in my arcade. It's my Outrun machine, but I've got like an Android box in it. And it can only run so many games. Like, it can't run more advanced games like Cruis'n USA or like Daytona or anything like that. So I'm really anxious to get another racer in my arcade collection. They sucked after Tokyo Drift. I think I watched Fast 5. I can't remember whether it was Fast 5 or what it was. But yeah, I'm not a fan of that franchise. I just find it so silly. I'll move to Calgary if you become mayor. You should move out here anyways and make this city better. But thank you, Christina. I appreciate that. High Speed Pinball was my favorite. Was that an actual table called High Speed? I think I know which one you're talking about. So last week I've loaded a bunch more pinball tables with this new back box on my pinball. Man, we're talking about arcades a lot tonight. I loaded a bunch of digital tables onto this since I got my back box that has the bigger monitor and the digital scoreboard. I've recently put on Elvira's Scared Stiff, this Indiana Jones table, the Avengers Stern pinball table, Stern Buckhunter pinball. Man, that's a lot of fun. A lot of the Stern tables are fun. Family Guy Stern I've thrown on here. I think it's called the Getaway. I recently put on here. A lot of fun tables. Funhouse. One of my favorites of all time I found was Medieval Madness. But this Medieval Madness table I put on has like a adult voice patch, so that, you know, all the bleeped out cuss words of Sir Howard Hertz are unbeeped on that table. They're uncut. So it's a lot of fun to play that one. Big fan. Does Tekken 4 have an arcade? No. So one thing that I mentioned last week, I had a video on it. Pierre, hang on 1 second here. When they had real balls and hard pull springs. So this table actually has a plunger, like a really hard plunger spring. But yeah, real balls are great. But the problem again with pinball is the cost. This whole table, even with this big screen mod on the back, was about $2,000 versus $4,000 to $15,000 for real pinball, plus all the maintenance that comes with a real pinball machine. I find digital pinballs had so many advancements. It's just, if you want to play I seen a video, Evil Genius Arcades did a good video on it, where he talked about, he owns real pinball machines, but he also owns digital. And he says digital is far better because when you own a real pinball machine, eventually you're going to get sick of it. You're going to get used to playing it. You're going to get bored with it. This gives you a way to play multiple tables. And while it's not 100% authentic, I'll tell you right now, as somebody who's picky about those things, this one gets the most play in my house, this pinball machine. I'm usually on it daily. I love it. It's but as for Tekken 4, so this Dragon's Lair machine that's sitting behind me has an interesting story, and I did a video on the iArcade this week, even though we don't cover arcades on the channel. iArcade went out of business, and what made them different from all these other arcades that are sitting behind me was that they brought out this system, or this arcade essentially as like a console. So you would buy it. It came with about 18 games, and you would essentially go onto their web store and purchase games a la carte. So you'd buy whichever games you wanted to play, kind of like your Nintendo Switch or Xbox or anything, and it would download to your arcade, and you got to keep those games. However, the company has gone out of business and claimed bankruptcy, and they gave people about a week to go on and get their games downloaded before shutting down their store. And one of the funny things that happened was this week they brought out a patch that allowed people, Team Encoder, who are a group of guys that kind of break the firmwares on these arcades, came out with a patch that you could do from the web store, which would allow you to download unreleased games. So they had Metal Slug on there and a couple other games that had been pulled from the store, some games that hadn't dropped because they were still in development. But what iArcade did, which was a little shady, is even as they shut down their store and went out of business, they went on to everybody's machine and pulled those games off for anybody who took them. And a lot of people were up in arms. And my good buddy P-Dubs did a video on it where he kind of laughed and said, people who stole games from iArcade are mad that iArcade stole them back. And I get the argument, but at the same time, it was kind of a piss off because it's like some people spent up to $1,000 for these machines just to get burned. You're going out of business. You could let people just download them. But one of the cool things is that this Team Encoder that came up with this web hack, they've backed up the entire library. They said they've got hacks coming on the way. This Dragon's Lair arcade supports Sin and Light Guns, which is great. So essentially they're going to bring out a hack, I believe, that allows you to sideload other ROMs. And this machine is essentially like a Nintendo Switch in terms of its graphical capabilities. So we'll be able to get games like Killer Instinct, possibly Tekken, all sideloaded onto this machine. And it really sucks because now the machine isn't available anymore. But this one's going to be powerful enough to run some of those games. So I can't wait for those side hacks to come out. But really sucks that those games got pulled because one of them was this machine came loaded with Double Dragon when I bought it, and I purchased Double Dragon 2. And then one of the downloaded games was Double Dragon 3, which lost their license. I had it on my machine. I mean, thankfully I played through it the day I downloaded it, but they also removed it the next day. So I no longer have Double Dragon 3 on there, even though it's a terrible game. But it was crazy. CB jumping in. The old ones have the sound that digital ones can't match. I agree. So one thing I've done with my pinball machine that I was talking about earlier. So when you buy this back box, the back box upgrade is about $700 because of the 2 screens, all the stuff that going into it. But you can also purchase from them a haptics kit. So I've also got like a puck-sized subwoofer bolted into the bottom of the table, as well as a separate amplifier with haptics buttons on the inside of the machine so that you can adjust based on what you're playing, so that whenever you're hitting the bumpers, when you're hitting, when it's making like explosive sounds and stuff, the bass shaker goes off. It definitely adds an element to that table, making it feel somewhat more realistic. It's, again, for the money, I guess I look at it as the cheap person's way to play. But also for some of these tables, like for example, I've got a Godzilla table on here that Stern now sells for, I believe it's about roughly $15,000. So if I wanted to play that machine anywhere else, I'm not going to get that chance unless I play digitally, because even if I have $15,000 to splurge on a pinball machine, I couldn't spend that kind of money even as a multimillionaire and feel good about myself. I'd feel terrible. I guess it's just me being a budget gamer. I couldn't do it. And that's part of the reason I promote the digital pinball. I quite like it. Marty jumping in. Video games are brainwashing our youth. There's too much gun violence. Corpseman jumping in as well. Welcome in. Did you see them yelling, "We're coming for your children" at a Pride rally? Yes, and I do have that in my videos coming up this week. We do talk about that. Again, earlier on when we were talking about the Pride Parade in Toronto, I think here's the problem I have with it. I don't believe that those people are physically going to come for my children, because they'd have hell to pay. They don't want to see what happens if they get in front of me and try to come between me and my children. However, the problem with these folks, if you're preaching a narrative that you want people to get on board with, if you're trying to get people to, I guess you could say, sympathize for your cause, you don't threaten to come after their children. Like, this is where I question the people that are behind these things, is that who thought this was a good idea? And who, like, I don't think any of it's a good idea, but in any, like I said, I tweeted out about it and said, could you imagine if the NRA was having a parade walking down the street saying, "We're coming for your children," to get them licensed to carry guns or something? People would have a fit. It's just, you don't threaten people's children, man. It's crazy. It's Trudeau's saying, "I miss going bowling." I do too. Has anybody heard anything about the protests in Calgary? So Adam Sos was covering that over on Rebel. If there isn't a video out about it yet, there should be soon. I'd keep your eyes out on that. Again, it was mostly peaceful. The thing about these protests in Calgary is that the opposing groups, that I guess you could call them they're seen as the opposing groups. But a lot of the Muslim protesters and the people with a normal brain in their heads, they know to keep their distance from the counter protesters. They know what's stacked up against them, and they've been very vigilant as to how they're running these protests to make sure that they're run very within the confines of what's acceptable, I guess you could say. So I wouldn't expect any drama unless it's coming from the other side. CB saying, "New Calgary slogan, leave our kids alone." It's really crazy what's happening in this town when it comes to the portrayal of child innocence and the safety of others. I had a talk with Clyde about taking our kids to the Stampede Parade, and said, do we really want to do it? Because if our mayor is in that parade, my guess is she's going to have some kind of drag queen representation in the parade or something. We've both agreed that if we start to see that show up, we'll just leave. Hopefully that's not the case, because again, Clyde is seeing it for the first time. My kids are seeing it for the first time in person. Usually what we used to do was the parade was always televised or put on YouTube or things like that. So rather than fight crowds every morning or try to jump on the C train, we would usually just have our kids wake up and we'd make like bacon and eggs and pancakes and sit in front of the TV and watch the parade, because you get a front row seat and you're not being pushed around by a bunch of people. But there is an element to going to see it live, and we're going to do that this year since Clyde's in town. Hopefully all goes well and there's no issues. We'll see. It makes me wonder what's going to happen, or if we're going to see any pushback from other groups at those. It's I wish it didn't have to be that way, but less such and sure conversation can happen. And that's part of the problem. That's part of the reason I showed that tweet earlier that I had to put a mute on. Nobody wants to have a conversation. They just want to blame and point fingers. And that's the problem. I've talked to great extent last week when I showed the show that I went to, Fire and Ice, that Theo Fleury and Jamie Soleil host, very good friends of the channel, where they had Sarah Palin. Theo has said multiple times, as well as Jamie, that, hey, we'd love to have a leftist on the show. We'd love to have somebody on the show that has a differing opinion, to have a civil conversation and find out, why do you feel this way? And why, Is this the narrative you guys push? Like, what is it that we do wrong so that you can have a dialogue? Because I think that's important. But these days, when it comes to any form of protest, it's nobody wants to hear what the other people have to say on what we consider the right side of the fence. But on the left side of the fence, nobody wants to hear what anybody has to say. They just want to shout their opinions. It's disheartening. Trudeau said he's looking forward to his daughter becoming PM. Oh, Jesus. I hope not. I hope that'll never happen. I used to live in Nanaimo and was getting arrested at Canadian Tire for not wearing a mask. And some woman shopper comes up to me and says, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I told her I got my RPAL. Well, I mean, come on. That's too bad. The Bonus Parade has a lot of floats this year. I just watched the one on Saturday. I mean, it's crazy. And Justin says Tim Pool has the same problem. He's a fence sitter. So I just don't like when people do, like, I'm not like, if somebody, again, in my tweets, somebody showed me today and said, is this you, where I was saying, you know, I had opinions about drag shows and everything. I'm not afraid to come out and talk about it and voice my opinion. I've even said, like, people say, well, you're phobic. No, I don't. Here's the thing. I don't run around and tell people I slept with my wife last night and I deserve a medal for it, or recognition, or a special day. I mean, my wife deserves a medal for putting up with my shit all year round, but we don't, straight people don't get recognition for just their sexual preference. That's what we're talking about here. When it comes to Pride, Pride started out as a celebration of equal rights for gays and lesbians. Equal rights, fair treatment, acceptance. And it's been hijacked and turned into this whole other three-ring circus. And a lot of the gays are against it. That's why you have groups like Gays Against Groomers, because they're fed up with their flag being hijacked. They're fed up with what's going on. And it's lunacy what's going on out there. I don't believe in an entire month going to people that want to ride on floats. These guys who run naked through Toronto on bikes in front of children and say, oh, just accept us. Why? Why should we have to? If somebody comes up to me and says, I want my rights, I think I deserve to be treated fairly because I'm a man and I sleep with a man. Well, that's fine. Go do it in your house. I don't need to be a part of that. That doesn't concern me. That's private information. Like, you see it now when you go to jobs and people say, well, this is how I identify, or this is how I see myself. Why should that matter in a workplace? If I was the boss hiring people at that workplace, I'd be saying, don't be talking about that at work, because it has nothing to do with what we're doing here. It's not relevant. It's like somebody saying, I like cats. Good for you. Like your cats. Go home, pet your cats, have 20 cats. I don't care. Don't bring them into work. You don't do that, right? Like, the first time I ever saw a Pride Parade broadcast on the news was probably about 10 years ago. And I remember seeing these guys, like the news was saying, isn't this great? It's Pride, it's this, it's that. And it was these guys who looked like they just came out of Club Wundersex in Germany with like all the bondage gear on, and they were all straddling each other and stuff. And there's parents at the side of the roads with their kids cheering, going, oh, isn't this great? We're accepting them. And it's like, when did this become appropriate? Like, and I say this with straight people, like, you walk down the street and there's people like playing tonsil hockey, and it's like, go home and do that. Like, why do we need to be subjected to it? Why should we have to accept it in any form, not just gays? Like, I don't understand FJT saying exactly, keep it private. And that's all I'm saying. Like, it's not anybody's business. Like, could you imagine going into a job and somebody saying, hey, how many people have you slept with? It's none of your damn business. You don't have a medal on your shirt that says, like, this is how many notches I got on my belt. Why does anybody need to know what your preferences are? It's like, if I go in somewhere, I like peanut butter and jam, everybody. Give me a parade. Like, give me a break. Give me a break. They caught us 5 year plate our morals and kindness. Well, that's the problem. And that's the issue with Pride now, is that it's gone. This is where we see the pushback. It's gone too far. We gave an inch, they took a mile. And I'm not talking about the gays. I'm talking about the weirdos, right? You gave an inch and said, well, yeah, we can treat you as equal as we do the gays. We don't want to, infringe on your rights and all these things. And then they went, good. Now let us read books to your kids. Now let us go into your bathrooms. Now let us change in front of your wives and children. Now, let us walk around naked in the streets. Let us, go topless in fountains in New York. Give me a break, guys. And you want people to take you serious? Like, that's like my job's saying you can come to work wearing anything as long as your genitals are covered. And I go in there wearing like a Borat bathing suit. Like I'd expect them, like I'd say, well, it's still covering me. It's inappropriate. Like there's a line of decency, and that's the problem. It's crazy. You should call them trains now because of YouTube. Trudeau's a commie. I stand up to pee. I want a parade. There you go. There you go. They say it's harm reduction, but the science evidence shows it makes no difference. Yeah, it's so 0.6% of people over the age 13 in the US identify as trans. 0.6% of the population. I cannot understand why so many people make such a big deal out of it then. That's craziness. I've been saying I've been discriminated by the government for years now because I identify as trans financial. So the government should be making me a billionaire, and they're not, which means they're phobic, I guess. So because I identify as trans financial and the bank doesn't fill my accounts to, 9-figure salaries in there, they're phobic, I guess. Is that how it works? We should all be trans financial. We should all identify as trans financial. Watch the country go broke. Start a big movement that says, if you don't identify me as trans financial, then you're phobic. It's it's crazy. Why is Trudeau exploiting via Rabo Concrete at Elizabeth? Yeah, well, but that's because, and I've got a video on that this week, and I don't want to, the problem is I don't want to get too much into it because then everybody says, well, there's no point in watching the video. Right? But I've got a video on it this week that politicians have hijacked Pride as a way of pushing agendas and dividing people. It's I don't know. It's crazy times we're living in, guys. It's really crazy. Part of the reason my wife and I looked at properties out in Sylvan Lake is because we said, do we want to raise our kids here anymore? And my mother-in-law even mentioned, well, there's some drugs that go around in Sylvan Lake when you hear about fentanyl and these things. And we go, yeah, we can protect our kids from drugs and teach them not to be stupid. The problem is in Calgary, I went and dropped my car off to get a service done at the dealership this week. And they said, do you want to ride home? I had my 3-year-old with me and said, nah, I don't want to pull the car seat out and mess around. I've got a stroller in the car. I'll just, the train's right next door to the dealership. I'll take the train home. I'm like a 5-minute walk from my train station. I took the train a couple stops. And while I got down there, there was 2 guys shooting up on the platform at 8:30 in the morning. And there were cops on the other end of the platform. And as I walk past these guys, because I'm not going to stand near them while they're shooting up on heroin, I keep walking and I pass these cops and they see me and nod because they see me with my son and go, oh, good morning. It's like, are you going to do anything about the crime that's occurring back there? Nope. They just walk right past it. So they're maintaining the illusion that they're there to keep things safe. Now, rightfully so, the guys shooting up aren't going to, jump on anybody or rob them or take their wallets while the police are there. But shouldn't you be arresting these guys? Shouldn't you be locking these guys up? Like I said to my wife, my wife called and said, when's the car going to be finished? And it was done early afternoon, but she takes the train home from downtown. I said, stop and pick up the car on your way home because you're going to be on the train anyways. I don't feel safe taking our kids on the train. I don't want to. I'll go on the train. I've got no problem going on the train, but I'm not going to take my 3-year-old on the train. I'm not going to put him at risk. Was that at Crowfoot? No, we're not in the north end of town. That's no, I'm in the South. But it's it's crazy. Here's an idea. If you don't want tire tracks on rainbow crosswalks, quit painting them on the roads. It's funny. I had a tweet about that earlier this month. I forget where it was. I think it was in Ontario that said it was there, or BC, that said that their crosswalk had been vandalized by tire tracks. And I said, let's ban all tires. It's Nanaimo. Yeah, I think it was Nanaimo where that happened. I think it was in BC, if I'm not mistaken. You can't vote the mayor out. Well, that's too bad. Stuart's saying we have the same problem up here. Stuart, the problem's at every train station. And this is one of the things I campaigned for with my mayoral run. It's the first thing I would do when I get into that office. First off, I'm repealing the stupid no protest bylaw. I'd repeal that. I'd repeal the you're not allowed to change in women's change rooms anymore. The party's over for you guys. But at the same time, I'd be going to the police chief and saying, what do we need to clean this town up? What do we need? The Calgary police are a private police force. We don't use the RCMP. So I'd be going to them and the premier saying, how do I fix things in this town? I'm not going to work like the mayor right now is pushing for an LRT, or light rail transit. It's like an above ground subway that we have in town. It's the train we use. She's pushing for an expansion that's going to cost billions of dollars. How about we clean up the existing problem with crime before we add more to it? I'd be going in and saying, put that on hold and put that budget towards more police, more security. I want a guard at every station. That the train doesn't run 24 hours a day. I want turnstiles so you don't get passed onto the platform unless you've paid to be on that platform. What we do in downtown where it's a free fare zone, I'd have to figure that out with planners. But I want turnstiles. I want the platforms indoors so that we don't have to worry about people finding their way up there without paying to get through. I want security, whether that be police, whether that be hired security, or transit peace officers at every single station, so that on the trains we have what's called the help button. It goes straight through to Calgary Transit. So if there's an incident on the train and somebody hits that button, there is somebody at the next stop greeting the train, ready to take whoever's causing the problem off the train and deal with it and get police there promptly. There's people right now on the train that have an issue. They'll hit the help button and there's nobody there. There's nobody at the next station, or the police don't show up for 2.5 hours. The police are completely underutilized in this town. We need a complete crackdown on crime in this town. And I would probably push Danielle Smith to say, we need tougher prosecution in this province. We need to do something to rid the streets of these people, not this catch and release shit. If you want to break the law, you're going to jail. Plain and simple. You go to jail. The homeless don't want to improve their situation, go to jail. You don't have to worry about begging for money because you can get 3 square meals a day. We would pay less as taxpayers to have those people in jail than we would supporting them and dealing with the crime rate as we are right now. Doing these legalized hard drugs. Or these bananas programs that they're talking about. The other thing I want to do is put forward a bylaw that people aren't allowed to panhandle on private property. That has to come to an end. I can't count out. Now, I'm not saying I feel sorry or don't feel sorry for people going through a rough time, but we have services in this city to help the homeless. We have soup kitchens. We have homeless shelters. We have places for people to go when they genuinely and legitimately want help. The problem with these people that beg for money right now, 90% of them are scam artists. And we've talked about this before. They're scam artists. They dress up as homeless to get tax-free money. I see them all the time at numerous shops, and the police can't be bothered to show up and broom everybody out because they just go somewhere else. I live in a neighborhood that's close to a train again. And the problem is the police broom them all out of there and they come into our neighborhoods and they hang around our parks where our kids play. That's no good. I don't want guys shooting up where my kids are playing. There needs to be more police that are more active, that if you're going to be doing this shit, you're getting arrested. You're not panhandling on private property. And all it's going to take is for a few people to get arrested once or twice and it'll stop. Once they see that we're backing up our claims, it will stop. It will cease. I would be nipping things in the ass. Like, I'm not going to say we don't need a train expansion. People need transit. But you got to fix your problems before you go creating more. And if the police didn't want to get on deck with that kind of plan, fire them. Hire ones that want to do their jobs. Shelters are left safe in the streets. Fair enough. But the streets can't be a haven for people to sit around and shoot up all day. The people, here's the problem. The people that live in this city pay taxes to live here. They pay for security. They pay to feel safe when they go outside their house. There has to be a solution. You can't just say, well, hey, it's less dangerous for them to be out on the streets than to be in a shelter. If the shelter's the problem, then get the proper staff in a shelter. Again, they're probably underfunded and underutilized is the problem. That's the reason those shelters are probably less safe. If they were run properly, we wouldn't have those issues. I mean, corpse sites is the best here. They shouldn't be comfortable. People won't move on. Am I missing something in the chat? Was there somebody, were there people who showed up? I might have missed some stuff in the chats. Do we need to put out the ban hammer? Marty, what's Marty talking about? Oh, Marty McGregor or Mary McGregor? Where are we? Let's find this. Let's see what they had to say. I got to see this for myself. Well, they said here, thank you for standing up. But let's go back. Let's find more. We would still be locked in our homes wearing masks. We need to get more. Am I missing something here? I feel like I'm missing something. Did I miss something on the content? Did they delete their I might have missed it. I'll keep a better eye on the chat. I apologize, folks. It's hard when you get on a rant. You're trying to keep the peace in the stream. She only thanked the truckers in Tamara. Okay, come on. But not the people? Well, okay, if we're going to argue semantics, I'm not going to ban people out for that stuff. I don't see anything wrong with their comments. It's if people have the right to express them, if people are going to be if people are just like, I do need to get moderators in here and stuff like that, but if nobody's being abrupt or anything like, I'm not gonna shoehorn people out just because they forgot to mention one portion of their of their claim. I do it too. Somebody said it to me earlier when I said Tamara stood up for this and did that. And well, speak of the devil, there's Joe. He's a good moderator. He's here on the channel. Joe stepped in. Yo, Joe, welcome into the stream, buddy. I mentioned it earlier. I said Tamara and this and that, and then people said, well, it wasn't just Tamara. Yeah, we're arguing semantics. I use Tamara as the euphemism that she's been dubbed the face of the convoy. So when I talk about Tamara and I say everyone who did things, we're talking about them as a group, and it's not. Amnesty offering to be a mod as well. Amnesty, I'll reach out to you. Thank you for that. Again, I know you from over at Clyde's channel, so we'll add some mods. Snatch, make me and Clyde mods. Snatch, I'll probably jump you in there too. We'll get some mods going on this channel, folks, and we'll get some authority in here. It'll be it'll be okay. But going back, I don't see anything in the chats. But yeah, some real change needs to come to this town. It's going to be a tough job. Much like there's Clyde jumping in. Clyde, welcome to the stream, buddy. I'd love to help, but I was never knighted as a moderator. Well, Clyde, I will moderate you in a heartbeat. Clyde, you're never here, because or at least you're not here for as long as everybody else, because you're a busy guy. You got things to do. That's okay. But that folks, I mean, I'll be interested to see how things work out at the Stampede this year. I'll be interested to see what happens at the parade, what our mayor is going to contribute to that parade. And again, tune in Friday, the 7th. I will be doing a live stream with my good buddy Clyde. We're gonna have a nonsense stream, I guess, down at the Stampede grounds. Whether or not I'll be sober, I don't know. We'll see. It depends. I don't know if I want to get rip roaring drunk while our kids are around, but there will be some shenanigans for sure. We'll comb the grounds. We'll do some fun stuff. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know. Maybe we'll get Clyde to a drag time story hour. I don't know. Well, no, I'm kidding. I don't think that'll be on the Stampede grounds, but we'll show a little bit of Canadian culture. We'll show a little bit of what goes on in Calgary, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to hanging out with Clyde. It's going to be a fun time. Now, in terms of other folks that are going to be around for that stream, I think it's just going to stick to me and Clyde. We are seeing some of our friends from the community over the weekend, which again, I've kind of made that more of a private event. So I won't be doing a broadcast of our barbecue with like Marty and all those other folks, because that's kind of a hangout time for us. And I don't know, maybe we'll get Clyde to eat some bugs down on the Stampede grounds. That's always a hot commodity at the Stampede every year. That, or we'll just stand around and laugh at everybody eating the bugs. I don't think we'll actually get Clyde eating bugs, but it's going to be fun. I'm excited. I can't wait. My kids can't wait to see Clyde's kids. They always have fun. Snatch, you will have to, where is it here? You'll have to dress up all your own. Listen, I don't do the Western thing at Stampede. I know a lot of people are, where's your cowboy hat? No, fuck that. I don't do that. I don't play that. What you see is what you get with me, and that's where it's going to be. Knowing me, I'm going to be whoring out my brand and wearing my stuff on the grounds, more than likely. But it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a fun time. CB jumping in. He needs to eat prairie oysters. I wouldn't push that on my worst enemy. I would pay to see the bug eating. Well, yeah, no. I'm not. So here's the thing. So a lot of people thought Clyde did a story last year about bugs at the Stampede, and I tried my best to correct him, because while, the WEF pushes a lot of this, eats the bugs, Stampede has been doing it for a long time. I'd say at least a decade. It started out back in around 2013, 2014 with the introduction of Scorpion Pizza. I remember the first year that came and everybody was like, oh my God, that's terrible. But it was meant to be terrible. It was meant to be this kind of like a fear factor type, we dare you to eat it sort of thing. And a lot of people stood up to do it. A lot of people said, yeah, they got drunk and said, I'll eat Scorpion Pizza. And they ran out of scorpions about 4 days into the Stampede. I remember my niece going a few days later and saying, because she wanted to do the Scorpion Pizza, and they ran out and started using mealworms. Again, I think it was just because of like they were trying to sell like the Fear Factor end of things. If you ever remember Fear Factor with Joe Rogan. And every year after that, it's like they tried kind of like movie sequels. You know, they always tried to top the last year and get something new in there. And I think it was Crickets last year that they did. But I don't believe they have anything going on this year in terms of bugs. We'll have to see. Snatch pointing out the obvious. You don't handle spice well. I don't. I probably won't be doing anything. Cowboy Hat, I thought you'd be going in a saloon dress, Clyde, only if you buy me dinner first. It's look at Clyde. He's trying to gaslight me and eating bugs. We know you don't do bug challenges. Derek's all about the spice. It's not happening. It's not happening. I love this because here's what's going to happen. I'll end the stream and I guarantee you I'll get a DM from Clyde immediately going, I got you so riled up in your stream. It was great. No, I'm not doing bugs. I'm not doing spice. It's, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. FJD saying that's a mandate. It's, the answer, of course, Snatch says is spicy bugs. I don't think so. I wouldn't eat bugs. I remember, so when my wife and I went to Universal Studios for our honeymoon, they had a Fear Factor thing there. And one of the things was bugs, and you could win, I think it was like $10,000 or something by going through the whole deal. And my wife's like, why don't you sign up? And I said, you couldn't pay me enough to eat bugs. I don't care if it's $10,000. And so there's Clyde. You figured me out. I called it. There it is. Good old Clyde coming in to sabotage the stream. I'm kidding, Clyde. It's yeah, I no, bugs is where I draw the line. I can't I'm happy to do, like, I mean, we did the hot chip. I've done spice stuff when Clyde's been around. I don't mind that stuff because it's a laugh, but when it comes to like disgusting things, I'm not in that boat. I don't like, part of the thing is, and it was the same gripe I had with the hot chip challenge. My good buddy Joe Lyman can attest to this because he got the Last Dab sauce as a Father's Day gift, I believe. But he used the Last Dab sauce about a week ago, and he messaged me and said it's actually not bad. Like, it's got a good taste to it, and I agree. And Clyde said the same thing when he had the Last Dab wings. They're very hot, like they bite, but they taste good when you're eating them, and that's part of the problem with some of that stuff. That when you get into bugs or when you get into like really, really, really spicy stuff, I want to enjoy what I'm eating, even if it's for a laugh. Like you don't want to taste something that tastes like ass. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be some enjoyment out of it where it's not totally muddled down by a bad time. But yeah, I don't think I'll be doing bugs at the Stampede. It's yeah, there's Joe, Last Dab sauce. I'll eat again. I've got a couple jars of that. I've got the bomb. Maybe we should get Clyde to do the bomb sauce on stream when we do his stream from the arcade here on the Friday night. I'd love to see Clyde take on the bomb, even just like a dab on one wing, see how he handles that. I've done like a dip, like a finger dip into the bomb sauce, and it's horrible. That's one of those ones again where you're not going to enjoy it because it tastes like shit. I want to have them hot. Yeah, Clyde's wings were cold by the time he ate them. He ate them after the show last time. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a fun time. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great. I don't like food tasting like ass. Like swass, sweaty ass. No. Count me out. I'm out. That's where I draw the line. I won't ban protests in Calgary. I won't spend foolishly, but I'll put a ban on swass. I love spicy foods, but I can't eat it. There you go. Are you kink shaming? No, if you like swass, man, that's fine. You get into that all you like. I just, no, I'll put a ban on swass. It's more for people's safety. It's a safety concern. I don't want you to get bacteria poison. It's, you must be rich to go to the Stampede. No. So one of the things about Stampede, one of the things I love in Calgary is that every year, if you go to Costco just a little bit before Stampede, they actually sell Stampede money that you can get like $30 will get you $50 on the grounds or whatever. You can use them at any retailers. So every year I usually go there and buy a bunch. So what I did this year, again, charitable, because I can put some of those purchases as a business expense. I go down. I went down to Costco this year, and I bought about $1,000 worth of Stampede money from book sales, and I took $700 of that $1,000 down to the Calgary Women's and Needs Shelter because my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law, when she was still married to my wife's father, I notice I don't call him my father-in-law. They had some things go down, and he took everything in a divorce. He left him and his 4 kids with nowhere to live. They were screwed, and my mother-in-law. Part of the reason I get along so well with my mother-in-law is because I have so much respect for her. She went to school while working 2 jobs, and for a short period of time had to live in the Calgary Women's Shelter. And she had to live there with my wife. My wife turned 13 when she was in that shelter, as well as my wife's siblings. And they really came through while my mother-in-law scraped together enough to buy a townhome for their family to move into. And so there's families there that can't afford to do things like the Stampede. So I went and purchased $1,000 worth of this money, which essentially gave me roughly $1,500 on the Stampede grounds. And we went and gave $700 that I spent to the Women in Need Society. And then I go every year and do that for us at least, because it's cheaper to go to the Stampede then. You can spend less while getting more on the grounds. Because let's face it, the grounds, they're jacked up. They're overcharging for everything. I mean, you go to get like a bottle of Coke or something on the grounds, and it's like $6, right? It's like Disneyland prices. So I find Costco's the best way to stretch your money out when you go to the Stampede. But the Stampede also does a lot of days where they have like half price days. Even the day we're going, they have free admission after the parade until like 1:30 in the afternoon. So for a family of 5 like mine, we're saving like $120 getting through the gates. So if you can plan it out properly, if you eat before you go to the grounds and things, you can save a lot of money. It's what do we have here? We got to do what we do. Great lady to have for our mother-in-law. I'll tell you right now, my mother-in-law, a lot of people, like I was goofing around and it said like a lot of people say they don't get along with their in-laws. My mother-in-law, like I could go to her with anything. And she's like a second mom. She's fantastic. When my mom died, she was there at the funeral, and I found it hard just to even get through my mom's eulogy. And when I got off the stage, not the stage, but like from the podium, I was shaking, and my mother-in-law was there the whole time saying, breathe, you did good. Look at me. Like it felt like I'd lost my mom, but I didn't at the same time because my mother-in-law was there. And I mean, I've known my mother-in-law since I was 16 years old, and she's just a fabulous person. And she shows what hard work. She's an example of what hard work can get you. It would have been very easy for her to just roll over and say, I'm not going to do anything, but she went to school, she bettered herself, she got a good job, like a decent job to afford to pay for her kids. They didn't have a lot of money, but they had a roof over their head. And it definitely helps with my children because they've got a grandmother that teaches them the true value of things. And that's something I could never pay back. That's she's great. She's great. It's Jane saying, I only attend freedom events and I usually spend all my money there. That's fine if that's what you want to do. That's who's this Dan Bisney fellow? I have no idea. I know Snatch is saying ban or promote us, and then the Disney talk ends. Yeah, I get it. If I graduated, I'd be watching CNN right now. Well, here's the thing. This was before woke CNN. I actually used to like I remember watching CNN when 9/11 happened. And I didn't mind like Wolf Blitzer and some of these guys, Larry King. Like CNN wasn't bad for a lot of things, and then they just went super woke at one point, like when they got like Don Lemon and all these guys on there. It's look at Snatch. You know what? He's trolling. I'm just gonna, you know what? I'm gonna do this just for fun. Where's Snatch? Don't take it personal, Snatch. There, I'm gonna put you on a timeout. I hold the power in here, Snatch. Now, if you can be nice, I'll put you in mod status and take you out of that timeout. That's I'm like He-Man up in this bitch. I have the power. Fucking Snatch. I'm kidding. He'll come out of his timeout and yell at me. It's fine. Say good night to the bad guy. Ladies and gents, that brings us a little far along in our stream. We've gone a little overtime. We've gone a little overtime, so I'm gonna call it there because I do got to finish up our content for tomorrow. But a huge thank you to everybody who came out to the stream tonight. It was great chatting with everybody. We didn't really get on to the topic of the lost submarine that imploded this week. And again, everybody's heard about it, everybody's talked about it, and we won't really talk about it too much on this channel. I will admit I got a little caught up in some of the memes, though I don't find it funny what happened. I mean, there were some great memes that said Trudeau should have been on there and stuff that were good. Free Snatch. Snatch will get out. Don't worry. It's Snatch will get out, guys. He'll be back. He'll be back with mod status. He'll take it like a good sport. Thanks to everybody who came out. I hope you guys had a great time hanging out here on the stream. I know I did. Thank you to Funis for the gifted memberships tonight, as well as Suzanne for the super chat. Thank you so much. It was really great sitting around chatting with all of you guys. I hope you guys enjoy the videos coming out this week. I'll have regular content posted all the way up until Thursday. So make sure you come out to the channel every day, check out those videos, share them, like them, comment on them. If you haven't subbed yet, hit that sub button, join our channel because it avoids the shadow ban. I hope you guys have yourselves a great week. And again, enjoy what we have for you. I'll catch you on the next stream. Take care.